November 9th, in the Palm Springs desert, an earthquake splits the earth open as a goat looks on. Nyles awakens in his hotel room with his girlfriend Misty, where they're in town for the wedding of Misty's best friend, Tala, and Abe. Misty and Nyles have a bad, awkward romantic moment, and she leaves before it's finished. Nyles seems dead inside and tells Misty to kill him. Afterwards, Nyles lies on a pool raft, drinking beer in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and talking to groomsman Jerry. At the wedding, Nyles shows up in the same outfit. Misty gives a speech, and then when the father of the bride, Howard, prompts Tala's sister, Sarah, to give a speech, she panics because she doesn't have anything prepared. Nyles swoops in and gives a perfect wedding speech. A creepy guy named Randy tries to dance with Sarah, but she declines, and Nyles dances over to her. Nyles flirts with Sarah, who wonders what his girlfriend would think. But then Nyles shows her Misty having a romantic moment with Trevor, the wedding officiant, in the window of their room. Nyles and Sarah bond as she says her family is embarrassed of her and thinks she's a drunk mess. They end up making out in the desert, and as they start to undress each other, an arrow shoots into Nyles' shoulder. He begins running as a man named Roy begins chasing him down, firing another arrow into his leg as Sarah screams in horror. Roy ignores Sarah and chases Nyles as he keeps shooting him until they reach the entrance of a glowing cave. Thinking Nyles is already inside, Roy enters the cave, but Nyles has been hiding behind a rock and enters after him. Eventually, Nyles makes it to a glowing cave and begins dragging himself into it. Sarah catches up to him and he screams at her not to follow him as he is suddenly sucked into the glowing light. Nyles wakes up on his bed on the exact same day. He's been in a time loop, reliving the same day over and over. He gets intimate with Misty and goes about his business and is laying in the pool when Sarah runs out demanding answers. In a flashback, we see Sarah followed Nyles into the cave even after Nyles warned her not to and woke up on the day of the wedding. After noticing the same date on her phone and that the wedding was still getting ready, she ran out of the room and came across Howard and Pia, who had been looking for her because she wasn't in her bedroom and now didn't understand what she meant when she said the day already happened. Confused and disoriented, Howard finds her behavior strange. That's when she saw Nyles at the swimming pool. Sarah runs out to the pool and dives in to confront Nyles, attacking him. When Tala rushes out to see what's going on, she trips and smashes her face into the pavement, knocking out her front teeth. While the whole family freaks out and Howard tries to find a dentist to fix this in less than 6 hours, Sarah continues to be confused, so she goes back outside and finds Nyles sunbathing as if this was normal. He explains that they're stuck in a time loop and they will forever be reliving the wedding day from now on, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Sarah ignores this last bit and runs back to the desert to find the cave, which isn't there. Nyles follows her and tells her she needs to wait until the same earthquake that strikes every day comes and opens the cave. When this happens, Sarah enters the cave, once again ignoring Nyles' warnings that going into the cave or falling asleep won't change anything. It will only reset the day again. The day resets exactly as Nyles predicted, so while he goes back to the pool, Sarah gets in her car and drives away. Once again, Sarah ignores him and kills them both by crashing the car against a truck. The day resets yet once more, and Nyles takes Sarah to a bar in the desert as she comes to terms with this. After telling her about the time he made it all the way to Guinea by consuming some crystals, Nyles challenges a local woman called Darla to a game of darts. He's played this so many times he's learned how to shoot perfectly, but he does fail when Sarah suddenly remembers the crazy guy with the bow and asks him about him, so Nyles tells her the story. Hundreds of resets ago, when he was still learning how things worked, he met Roy, who was a relative of Abe's, at the wedding. After chit-chatting and sharing a drink at the bar, Roy told Nyles that the wedding officiant had some drugs in his pocket, so Nyles interrupted his speech to steal them from him. The two of them shared the drugs in the bathroom and giggled about it like idiots. Then they danced at the party before going to the desert to watch the stars. When Roy told him it was the best night ever and he never wanted it to end, Nyles took him to the cave so he would enter the time loop too. Roy didn't like ending up in the loop at all, and since then, he's been chasing Nyles for revenge, although since he doesn't live nearby, he only shows up every couple of days, and when he does, his revenge can get quite violent and sadistic. This is why Nyles promised he would never bring another person into this life again. Sarah's case had been an accident. After the bar, they visit a burrito cart for lunch, where Nyles pays extra money to a kid selling trinkets since money is meaningless to him now. Sarah asks him if he's taken advantage of the situation and slept around with people, to which Nyles confesses that yes, he has. He confesses that he slept with Misty, Daisy the barkeeper, Darla, and even Jerry to see what it felt like to sleep with another man. The two agree never to sleep together because it would only make things awkward. Sarah comes up with a theory that they're trapped in the loop as punishment and that the only way to escape is to be selfless and earn your way out. At the next wedding, Sarah stops the ceremony and whispers something in Tala's ear that devastates her. Then she rushes out to go back to the bar, and Nyles finds her there, playing pool and being very smug about her brilliant idea. When she falls asleep, however, the day resets again, so her plan didn't work. Sarah thinks life is meaningless, and she goes to pick Nyles up at his bedroom, where Misty begins to think that the two are cheating. From then on, Nyles and Sarah start spending their days together, trying to find a way to waste all this free time they have in their hands. They sunbathe at the pool of the neighbor's house, taking advantage of the owners being away on a vacation. They rent some weapons and learn to shoot. They go driving recklessly, and they even sneak into a plane and go flying, crashing shortly after taking off. As more and more reset days pass, the more carefree Sarah becomes, just like Nyles. They even practice a choreography together and then perform it in the bar, giving everyone the finger before running away. At the millionth reset, Sarah throws Nyles a party at the bar using the wedding cake. They also give each other wiener tattoos, and sometimes they even end the day cuddling. One evening, while camping, Sarah tells him her backstory. She was married for 2 years and knew from the beginning that it wouldn't work out, but she did it anyway. When she asks Nyles about what he did before getting stuck in the loop, he says it's been so long that he doesn't remember. The two hold hands, and later, when they get into their tent to sleep, Sarah asks Nyles to make love to her. Nyles is hesitant, but accepts, and when they wake up the next morning, they're both happy for a change. Sarah wakes up again in the same morning, and it turns out she had slept with Abe the night before the wedding and is disgusted with herself. Nyles tries to talk to her about them sleeping together, but she says everything is meaningless. They get pulled over by a cop who turns out to be Roy. Sarah steals the cop car and crushes Roy with it and acts wild and gleeful. Nyles is upset with her and says other people's pain matters. They get into a massive fight. Sarah blames Nyles for being in the situation, but he tells her he warned her not to go into the cave. She says she never should have slept with him, and he confesses they've slept together 1,000 times. Sarah is horrified that he lied to her, and Nyles says he didn't want to tell her. She says she is determined to get out of this day and runs in front of a truck to reset the day. The following morning, Nyles is disappointed to see Sarah doesn't come to pick him up as usual, so he goes looking for her. But she isn't in her bedroom, and nobody knows where she's gone. He looks for her through many resets to no avail, and now he's not having fun anymore. He just lays down on beds or floaties at the pool, moping. One evening, while hanging out with the groomsmen and the wedding officiant in Abe's room, he perceives a familiar smell on the pillow. It's Sarah's perfume. When the groomsmen tell him Abe slept there last night, Nyles finally realizes what has happened and interrupts the party to tell everyone what Abe has done. He proves this by giving Tala the pillow that smells of the perfume she bought for her sister. Nyles now understands why Sarah hates herself and waking up every morning at the same spot. He begins defending her from the family for thinking so low of her, only to be jumped on by an angry Abe. As they fight rolling on the floor, Nyles grabs a fork and stabs Abe's cheek, which freaks out both of them. So next time the day resets, Nyles keeps his mouth shut and watches the wedding go normally, only to get emotional when Howard and Pia offer their speech. Later, he goes somewhere private with Jerry, who comforts him while he admits he loves and misses Sarah. Tired of this existence, Nyles drives to Roy's house to turn himself in, but Roy doesn't look angry as usual. He invites him in and offers him a beer while showing him the great life he has. 2 kids, a beautiful wife, and a great house. He used to be furious at Nyles because he would never see his children grow up, but after Sarah sent him to the hospital, he's gained a new perspective. Today is a perfect day spent with his family, and he gets to relive it over and over. It doesn't get better than that. When Roy realizes Sarah is also in the loop, he thinks it's a good thing Nyles has her because nobody should go through this alone. But he also thinks he and Nyles shouldn't see each other again. As their final goodbye, Nyles asks Roy to kill him one last time. Meanwhile, Sarah has been keeping herself busy all this time. After the day of their arrest, she wakes up and immediately tells Abe that they're awful people that deserve anything bad that happens to them before rushing out of the house. From then on, she begins to spend hundreds of resets at a diner studying quantum physics and general relativity, using books, online lectures, and even chatting with scientists directly. When she feels she has enough information, she starts taking readings of the cave and experimenting with a goat and some explosives. Once she has an answer, she finally goes to see Nyles again, who is happy to see her and apologizes for hiding things from her. He wants them to start over, but while Sarah thanks him for the apology, she isn't interested in the rest. She explains to him the conclusion she's arrived at. They're trapped inside a box of energy, and to get out of the loop, they need to leave the box during the 3.2 seconds it takes to travel through it. The way to do this is by using explosives and blowing themselves up during that time window, although she isn't sure where or when they will land when they're propelled out, or if they'll even survive. But she has tested it on a goat, and the animal isn't here in the loop anymore. Nyles, however, doesn't want to get out of the loop. He confesses his love for Sarah, and after admitting he knows about her and Abe, he tells her he wants to stay with her forever in the loop, living the best life, because the real world sucks anyway. Sarah turns him down and gives him one last hug and a goodbye before leaving. And when Misty sees her and makes a scene, Nyles just breaks up with her. The wedding carries on as normal, but this time, when it's her turn to give a speech, Sarah accepts her responsibility and says some beautiful words about how nice and hopeful her sister is. The two of them hug, and Tala is happy to notice Sarah is wearing the perfume she gifted her. Meanwhile, Nyles is at the bar, drowning his sorrows. Darla calls him out for his moping and tells him he won't find what he's looking for here, which makes him realize what an idiot he's been. Nyles proceeds to provoke the barman into kicking him out, which he does on purpose to be close to him and steal his truck keys. He starts driving to the cave, but he gets a flat tire on the way, so when he remembers he's near the shooting range he's visited in other resets, Nyles uses the information he learned during those visits and tells the owner that he is his son. The man, hearing such details nobody else could know, believes him and drives him to the cave on his bike. He catches her just before she goes into the cave and gives a long speech, saying she's his favorite person he ever met and that he'd rather die with her than live in the world without her. She asks, "What if we get sick of each other?" He says they already are. Sarah tells him she loves him too. They kiss and go into the cave. Just before they are sucked in, Sarah detonates the explosives. When they wake up, they're happy to discover that they have indeed gotten out of the loop, and it's the following day, so they celebrate by hanging out in the pool. To their surprise, the family that owns that house comes back that day and demands to know what they're doing in their pool. Nyles realizes they must have gotten back from their trip on November 10th. In the meantime, Roy, who is still stuck in the loop, goes to the wedding party and tells Nyles he got Sarah's message about the crazy plan and wonders if it actually could work. When Nyles has no idea who he is, Roy realizes that the plan works and smiles.